So WWE released or chose not to extend one of their contracts, but they released 3 people. First and foremost, Baron Corbin. They decided not to pick up his contract. He is out of the company. I don't know when his contract has expired, but essentially what they did is they told him that we're not going to renew your contract. So he's effectively done with WWE. I don't know when he becomes available for people to use him. But he is like 40 years old. He never really got over in WWE, but he had a good run there. He is there for over 10 years, and he played every possible role imaginable in that company. And he started from the ground up. Like, he was like not an independent wrestling guy. He came straight from the NFL. He never made it in the NFL. I don't think he ever actually got on the field during a real game. I think he's played like preseason and stuff like that. But he'd come over as a big prospect, and he'd come over as a big prospect, and he got over a little bit in NXT early on because they were doing like the thing where he was coming out and just kicking everybody's asses, which typically gets over. He's like a big guy, and he had the black hole slam, and he was doing a pretty effective version of it. And he was getting over there, and then he got to the main roster, and it was just death. And then he has played at one point he was a commissioner type role. I think they called him barrister or something like that. I can't remember what they called him, but he was playing a commissioner on TV. He played like a homeless guy, and then he played a guy who, and then he stole Trevor Lee's gimmick of hitting it rich in the stock market, and then now he's like Happy Corbin. So he was bum ass Corbin, he was Happy Corbin. At one point he was managed by JBL, and they were doing another comeback thing. So I feel like they've repackaged him like 12 times, and he's never really gotten over. And so they decided to go ahead and move on. He's not a bad worker. He's not a great worker, but he's not a bad worker. Like, the guy can have decent matches whenever he puts his mind to it. But he's just a guy that they just can never figure something out with. He's got personality. He's not a terrible promo. He's a bit of a cheese ball. He doesn't look like, as far as like his physique goes, like he's super tall, but I think he was an offensive lineman too. He's never got himself shredded, but he's not in bad shape either. He looks like he can actually kick some people's asses. So I just don't know, whatever. Like, I think, the different starts and stop pushes kind of ruined him, and he never really got over. But he did everything that they ever asked him to. And it never really completely worked out. But that said, he had a good run. He had a good run for like his talent level. He was there a long time. He made a lot of money. He had a really good run. He should be proud of his run. Unless like his goal was to become the world heavyweight champion, which I just don't ever think that he had that talent. But hey, 10 years or whatever it was, more than 10 years in that company, starting from the ground up, good for him. He had a good run. He just never really made it. He could never break through the ceiling. He just couldn't. So congrats to him on a good run. Now, I think the inevitable question is, should TNA bring him in? And I would say no. I would say no, because it was the same reason why Ace Austin and Chris Bay can't seem to break through, is because every time we think they're about to, same with the rest, like Trey Miguel and Zach Wentz and Steve Macklin and these other guys. So just when we think they're about to, Nick Nemeth and Mustafa Ali show up. It was like, hey, they got WWE TV exposure. They're more famous than the people that they have on the roster. Like, they're more famous than the TNA homegrown talent. And I consider Macklin TNA homegrown talent. He came over from NXT television, but he was never a star there. He was like, a lot of people, like, when they see him, like, oh, is that if you told him that was Steve Cutler, they'd be like, oh, really? So, like, because he had long hair and a big beard and all that stuff. He just looked different. So he really reinvented himself in TNA. But yeah, Baron, I would say no. And in fact, I don't think he would even be interested. I don't think this is a guy that like is in love with pro wrestling and was going to want to do what Nemeth is doing and work all the indies and do TNA shots and, try to steal the show every night. He just never came across as that guy. I think he was just like a lover of WWE. He wanted to be a WWE superstar. He come over from the NFL. He likes the WWE lifestyle. I don't think he's coming to TNA. I don't think he's going to AEW. I don't think he's working indie shots. I could be completely wrong. You guys could bookmark this and be like, no, Mike, you're full of shit. Baron Corbin does love pro wrestling, and he is working all the indies. I just don't see it. I think he's retired. I think he's like Mojo Rawley, or who was the guy that married Emma to Neil Dashwood? Like, he's probably like one of those guys. He'll probably like start a YouTube channel. I said he'd probably start a MAGA YouTube channel, but Rover corrected me on that, so maybe he's not a MAGA guy, but he's probably not gonna do much outside of the WWE. Indy Hartwell also, so she was like a legit release, a legit cut. Now the media covering this, Sports Illustrated, Fightful, and all the other websites are using the terminology parted ways or departing. It's like, because that's what Chris Legentil, the head of WWE PR, is telling them to say, because they're trying to make these releases sound a bit softer. And in fact, earlier this year, Mike Johnson had a report out that the releases that WWE is doing now are actually much more gentle than they used to be, much more legentil than they used to be. It's like, no, they're the same. They're getting, like, they get fired. But they want it to sound like they're trying to help WWE babyface themselves for firing these people. It's like, look, I don't disagree with any of these firings. It's like, look, sometimes you just got to move on from somebody, right? You don't have to pay somebody for the rest of their life. You don't. If they're not working out, they're not working out. You just move on. I don't have the only time I ever got mad at WWE for firing people is when they did those mass firings during COVID, because that was at a time where those people were no longer going to be able to make money, and they did not need to fire them. They did it because they don't really give a fuck about any of their talent. They don't. They're just a means to an end for them. They're a heartless, soulless company. But that said, I don't think that they should feel obligated to keep somebody under contract forever. And I also don't feel like companies or football teams or baseball teams, like if someone's not living up to what your expectations, you should be able to cut them. That said, I think the talent, if the company is not living up to the talent's expectations, I think they should have an option to be able to leave their contract. I think both things are true, but they don't. So that's why it's a little bit not a little bit, it's completely unfair. But I think as a company, you should be able to release talent when you feel like you're not getting your money's worth. And so yeah, they released Indy Hartwell. Everybody's saying TNA, she's probably gonna go to TNA. I hope not. She's not any good. She stinks. She really is not good. And they already have enough like comedy geeks. Like they already got Ash by Elegance, and now they got Heather by Elegance, and it's like, could I see them bringing her in? Yeah. But Indy is not any good. She just can't go. And she's been around long enough to where she is what she is at this point, and she stinks. Like utterly, like not a good wrestler. Utterly not a good wrestler. Billy says Indy's firing as sudden as she was on SmackDown. Yeah, SmackDown was taped last week, I believe, and so she actually was on the show tonight. Hours before the show, she found out she was fired. So, yeah, that's tough. Now Tegan Knox, or as she goes by normally, Nixon Newell, she's actually a really good wrestler. So if TNA wanted to bring her in, I'd be like, yeah, here's the problem. That WWE system is hard on the knees. I think she's got 2 ACL tears. So I just don't know that she can go anymore. She's saying she can go. So if she wants an opportunity to prove herself, and wants to rebrand herself and prove everybody wrong, TNA is the place to do it. She could take a 1 to 2 year deal with TNA and work the indies. And I think that would work out pretty well. But again, I would be leery of bringing on somebody at a high price point with 2 ACL tears. That's tough. Think about it like a general manager in football. So you're going to pay this person. Can they hold up physically? Now, if you bring her in on a per date deal where you're only bringing her in, like you're only paying her when she works, that's different. But if you're going to sign her to a contract, you have to continue to pay her whether she shows up or not. Right. But if you're saying like, hey, you selected dates, if you show up at these dates that we're negotiating, we'll pay you when you work. Like that type of deal. Like that maybe could work out because you just don't know if she can hold up. And then if she proves that she can hold up, then maybe you offer her an actual deal. But it's just been tough. She's had a rough go of it. She's gotten hurt a lot. She really got hurt a lot. So that's tough. But for me, I don't think any of these talents are must-haves. I think TNA, what they really need to be looking at is the independent scene and internationally, and bring in some unsigned, unknown talent and make them your own. There's a lot of really good talent out there that you can backfill some of these people that are leaving. I just found out yesterday that like we all kind of thought Speedball was gone. Speedball is definitely leaving. Like word's already out. He's finishing up with TNA. He's not going to be around in 2025. He's going to be moving on. Where he goes, I don't know. My speculation is he'll be AEW bound, but he is not going to be around. Jordan Grace also not going to be around. She actually was back on NXT this week, so they're grooming their audience for Jordan Grace's full-time arrival. I think Jordan Grace should go right to the main roster, though. I do. I think that like she's well known enough in the States. She's been on television for a long time. The WWE audience already knows her pretty well. I think that you can move her straight to the main roster. But yeah, I like she's already gone. Now, Josh Alexander, I don't know about. Ibu says that there's going to be a bidding war for Josh. And I'm not saying he's wrong. It's one of those things where I believe it. I'll believe it when it actually happens. And I'll believe that Josh leaves TNA when it actually happens. I'm kind of like there. Now, there for a time over the summer when he was losing every week or losing every pay-per-view, I was kind of like, yeah. But then he beat Macklin, and they're keeping him pretty strong. And it looks like they're going to go full force with the Macklin feud. And I think there's a lot of ways they can go with it. Macklin's going to win the feud at the end because he's a babyface in the feud, and that's how you do it. But I think TNA is a good spot for Josh. I really do. If they're willing to like pay him some decent money, he could like he's not exactly a draw. So like, if you think about it, last year's Bound for Glory with Josh Alexander versus Alex Shelley on top did like a little over 1,000 fans in Chicago. And then this year in Detroit with the Hardys and Joe Hendry on top, they did 3,000. So it's like, but Josh is very good. Josh is very good. He's one of my favorite wrestlers in TNA history, to be honest with you. That's one of those, like, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not saying he's going to stay. I'm not predicting he's going to stay. It's just that I'll believe it when I see it. So, and then of course, Jonathan Gresham probably on his way out. We've talked about it many times. So, but yeah, I'm not going to clip this for YouTube, by the way. It's just for you. Like, I legit got a text from somebody and he was like, yeah, Speedball was just telling people that he's not taking certain dates because he wants to finish up with TNA the right way. And that was like the terms that he used. So, so he'll probably be done by December, and then in 2025 start somewhere fresh. So we'll see how that works out.